All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really big global imbalance. We're going to use the data to tell a story, the story of why Sub-Saharan Africa seems to be caught in this persistent trap of extreme poverty, and more importantly, what it would actually take to break free. Okay, so to kick things off, let's just get a sense of scale, right? Sub-Saharan Africa, it's home to about 1 in every 6 people on the planet. That's roughly 16% of the entire global population. But, and this is the crucial part, look at this number. Even though we're talking about 16% of the world's people, the region accounts for a staggering 67%. That's 2/3 of all people in the world living in extreme poverty. You see that huge difference? That raises the central question we're tackling today. Why is there such a massive gap? And the answer, well, it isn't just about economics. It's a story about a deep, systemic trap that has held millions of people back for decades. And to really wrap your head around the scale of this challenge, just look at the progress made somewhere else. Back in 1990, both Sub-Saharan Africa and East Asia were facing huge poverty problems. But fast forward to 2019, and their paths couldn't be more different. East Asia basically crushed extreme poverty, getting it down to just 1%. Meanwhile, Sub-Saharan Africa was still at 35%. That stark contrast, it tells you right away that there are some very unique obstacles at play here. So what are those obstacles? Well, it turns out the core of the issue isn't just poverty. It's this really toxic relationship it has with instability. Experts have a name for it, the poverty-fragility trap. And honestly, this vicious cycle is right at the heart of the whole problem. The World Bank puts it really well. They describe this whole thing as a devastating feedback loop, one that's incredibly difficult to break. You see, poverty and fragility, they just keep reinforcing each other. They're basically two sides of the same coin. Okay, so to really dig into this, we need to get familiar with a key term, FCV countries. That stands for nations dealing with fragility, conflict, and violence. And you have to understand, these are the kinds of places where the absolute basic building blocks of development are just systematically choked off. And this table, wow, it really shows just how persistent this problem is. So look, back in 1998, more than half of the world's fragile and conflict-affected countries were in Sub-Saharan Africa. Now you'd think over the next couple of decades, that number would go down, right? Nope, it actually went up from 13 countries to 19, and it's still more than half the world's total. It's just stuck. So the question is, how exactly does this trap work on the ground? I mean, what does it actually look like when instability just dismantles the path to progress? Well, the mechanics of it are a truly destructive cycle. Yeah, it's a really devastating two-way street. Think of it like this. First, you have poverty and these deep-seated grievances, which create the perfect fertile ground for instability and conflict. But then, and this is the trap, that very same conflict turns around and actively destroys the exact things you need to escape poverty. It just keeps feeding on itself over and over again. And here's how that destruction breaks down, piece by piece. Conflict isn't just a single event, right? It's a total demolisher of progress. It destroys human capital. We're talking about the skills and the very lives of people. It wipes out physical capital, your roads, schools, hospitals. Investor confidence, gone. Food supplies, disrupted. And maybe most importantly, it completely erodes social capital, that essential trust that holds a society together. And all the while, money that should be going to development gets diverted to military spending. It's a complete wipeout. Okay, so the situation is definitely critical. But, and this is important, the future isn't set in stone. The projections actually show two vastly different paths the region could take between now and the year 2043. So, first up, let's look at the current path. This is basically the forecast if we just keep doing what we're doing, if things continue more or less as they are. The extreme poverty rate, yeah, it's projected to drop to 23.7% by 2043. And look, that is an improvement, but it would still mean that nearly a quarter of the entire population is trapped in extreme deprivation. But there is another way. This is what's called the combined agenda scenario. And what this assumes is a future where there are really ambitious, coordinated efforts, interventions in things like governance, education, and trade. And if that happens, well, the forecast for 2043 drops dramatically, all the way down to just 7.3%. I mean, the difference between those two futures is just immense. We're talking about a better life for hundreds of millions of people. So what's the big takeaway here?
The most crucial point is that this cycle can be broken. It's not inevitable. We actually have a data-driven blueprint for what it would take to shift from that current path to the much, much brighter one.
Now, this isn't about finding one single silver bullet. It just doesn't work that way. It's about a massive, concerted push across a whole bunch of fronts at the same time. So what does that mean? It means building foundational stability with better governance. It means investing in people through education and health. And it means boosting whole economies by modernizing agriculture and, connecting the continent through trade, infrastructure, and technology. It's the whole package.
But here's the thing. There's a foundation for all of it. The one thing that makes education, investment, and growth even possible, and that foundation is peace and stability. I mean, think about it. You can't build a school or a farm or a business in the middle of a conflict zone. It's just not possible. Stability has to come first. It's the absolute non-negotiable prerequisite.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question. The data clearly shows a path out of this poverty-fragility trap. The blueprint is there, we know what to do. So the only real question left is, will the world commit to helping build it? From leaders inside the region to partners all across the globe. Is the collective will actually there to make it happen?